The following program is brought to you in part by the film Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace.
Hi, I'm Charney, and this is the Charney Report, and we're coming to you from Moscow the day before the celebration, the VE celebration, the 50th year since the termination of the war between the Nazis and the Russians. And we're standing here in Red Square close to Lenin's tomb, and things have drastically and dramatically changed in 50 years. President Clinton arrives tomorrow morning, and he has a lot on his plate. Number one, he's being criticized in the United States for coming for two main reasons. Number one, so far Russia's agreed to sell to Iran nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs or whatever, bad stuff, nuclear stuff. And number two, there's fighting in Chechnya. There's threats tomorrow that maybe there'll be some disturbance to 50 leaders from various countries who've come to celebrate with Boris Yeltsin and the Russians this great victory. We have with us tonight, we found two wonderful gentlemen who were, as you can see by their medals, big heroes in World War II. What is your name, sir?
Brigadier Dal Singh.
Brigadier Dal Singh, from India.
India.
And your name?
My name is General Mishra from India.
Wow, you guys were high-flying guys in those days.
Yes.
Tell me why you came all this way.
We got an invitation from the Committee of War Veterans here to attend this celebration of the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II.
You were a brigadier general at that time?
So, no, I retired as a
brigadier.
Yes.
Where were you during World War II?
I was not in the World War II.
You were in the
I
World War
was very much. I was all over Far East, starting with China, then Burma, and I had, amongst other friends, the American volunteer group under General Chennault when I was serving in China. Then I came to Burma. We had the general, I forget his name, Merrill's Marauders, and the general who spoke fluent Chinese, Ginger, what was he known as? Ginger. Well, very fine soldier.
I wasn't born then, so I don't know.
Very fine. Yes, I had my war in Burma, where I managed to get a military cross for gallantry, and then I went for further education, and finally retired in '71 from Nepal. I am here as an official guest of the Russian government.
Have you been to Russia before?
Never. This is my first visit, and I'm very glad I'm here.
Why?
Because curiosity. I wanted to see Moscow.
And are you excited by it?
I am. And I've been mentioned here during my career in the army. Marshal Zhukov came to Pune, a very important
You met Marshal Zhukov?
Not only I met him, he presented me with a dagger when he left.
So we have a real war hero in you.
Yes, yes. No, well, I wouldn't say that. But I have lots of...
You remember a man named Joe Stalin?
Joe Stalin, of course I heard of him.
But you never met Stalin?
Never, no.
And were you always curious to see why you fought the war? And, it was a funny amalgamation.
Well, I was a professional soldier. I was joined the Indian Army in 1933. And we fought where we were supposed to fight.
All right, explain to me all these medals. They're from...
Mostly a campaign medal, but this is the one, where is it? Military Cross. This one.
Military Cross.
Military Cross. You have the Victoria Cross, then the Military Cross.
And that's from the Second World War?
Second World War. And this is from Nepal. And the others are all campaign medals.
All right. I don't have one, so you're much better than I am.
Well,
and what are your medals for?
These are for the wars that we fought in India after independence. 1962, 65, 71.
What do you call campaign medals?
Campaign medals.
So you're going to a party tonight with the foreign minister? And you're going to celebrate?
Yes, kind of.
Is it a great experience 50 years later to see how the world is so changed? I might tell the audience I was in Russia in 1972, and I've come back in 1992, and now again, every time I come back, there are more and more changes. Did you expect, first of all, ever in your lifetime, the fall of communism?
I think so.
You did. You're a genius. No one else did.
No, I have always believed that it is a system which is against the laws of nature.
Very clever.
And nature, being very powerful, eventually prevails.
Thank you very much for coming on. I want to talk to a new immigrant here from India who's in Russia now. He's living here. What's your name?
Ajit Pant is my name.
And you're living now in Russia?
Well, I've been here now for 1.5 years.
You're part of the new business. You're a businessman.
I'm part of the new business scene, yes.
You know, 20 years ago when you were here, you wouldn't see many cars. You would see a communist state.
Hardly.
Everything was orderly.
Everything was very, very disciplined. In fact, Moscow was one of the cleanest places in the world at one time.
What are you finding now?
Very substantial change, a degree of change that one never fathomed could be seen in such a short span of time. But it's changed for the better. It's good for the younger generation here, slightly, or rather very difficult for the older generation at this time. But it's a passing phase. Another 10 years, this will be a different country altogether.
Totally.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the politics here? Do you think Mr. Yeltsin will run for presidency again?
Oh, well, I think he will run for the presidency, because at the moment there is no other candidate, a comparative candidate in the horizon. Unless something drastic happens, he should continue. But irrespective, I think the business will make this country run now. Politics is going to be secondary. I think that's
economics rules.
Economic will rule.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Delighted to meet you.
My pleasure. We'll be right back after commercial break to continue our journey through Moscow on VE Day with 50 heads of state. We'll have a lot of limousines here tomorrow, believe me.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high to have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the Backdoor Channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover the mystery of the Kaddish. Available now over iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Leon Charney's cantorial CD in Disco Lam. Listen as Charney movingly sings El Mole Rachamim and Charney's amazing rendition of a disco remix of Adon Olam, all sung in the incredible and individual Charney style. Also listen to the CDs on Rhapsody. Download Leon Charney's cantorial songs in Disco Lam, the disco remix of Adon Olam on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. Or listen in on Rhapsody. All available now.
We're back. We're reporting you live from Red Square in Moscow. And behind us you see a group of soldiers. They look about 18, 19 years old, typical soldiers. But who knows, they may be going to Chechnya tomorrow to make sure that there's no possible problem for the welcoming of President Clinton and 50 other leaders. I must tell you that when we reported to you about 3-4 years ago after the coup, this country was medium, rare, between communism and on its way to economic freedom. Today there is enormous amounts of freedom. If you look up here, you'd see Lenin's tomb where you would have the soldiers walking. You don't see them any longer. Things have dramatically changed in this country. It's all dollars, it's all economics, and it's all a little bit mafia. We'll continue right after a commercial break to show you what it's like to be inside of Moscow for the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the defeat of Nazism and maybe communism. No one thought about that 50 years ago. And we're going to have a new world out here. Problems for Clinton, as we said before, in terms of Yeltsin. Clinton's foreign minister or Secretary of State Christopher says, don't expect too much tomorrow, just a pat on the back. Clinton will have to tell that to the Republicans, but that's not our problem. It's our problem, or it's our pleasure to feed you what we think you won't see through the networks, CNN, and all the other reporting that will be going on here tomorrow. We'll give you stuff behind the scenes that no one else shows you. Typical of a Leon Charney report. You're used to that type of reporting. We'll be back. We're back. If you get a feeling this looks like Germany in 1933, it could be Russia in 1933. This is the Communist Party right behind us. We're going to get mowed over if we don't move. They want the Russian communism back. They're not that excited about the capitalism. You speak English? What are we looking at here, Jesse?
What you're looking at here, everybody from Stalin on down.
This is a real hardcore of the old Communist Party?
Yes.
They want to bring back Mr. Stalin, Mr. Brezhnev, Mr. Chernenko?
See, what you see in Moscow is more of a democratic area where things, you walk down Tverskaya Gorky, which we're standing on right now, you have all the beautiful shops like you'd have in Fifth Avenue in New York or in Paris. But all you have to do is drive out 100 kilometers out of here and you really see that the people are, it's a third world country out here.
Well, you're absolutely right. When I was here 20 years ago, there were no modern stores on this street. Everything was state-owned. The only store you saw was the GUM store. And one thing I remember about Russia 20 years ago, it was very bleak. And there were no signs, no lighting. I mean, it looked very dour. Now it looks like, you're right, it looks like Fifth Avenue. You walk through the Radisson Hotel, you would think you're in the Plush Plaza Hotel on Fifth Avenue. But this seems to be splitting off from the mainstream of the country. These people here don't seem to be doing that well. And you have a huge mafia in this country, a huge criminal society. It's sort of, it's really a free-for-all in a sense. It's like the Wild West. I can see the fierceness in the people. Yeah, let me have a newspaper.
500 рублей.
They have Zionism.
What?
They're screaming Zionism now.
What are you screaming?
Zionism не пойдет. Zionists will not win.
Who will not win?
Zionism. Zionists will not win. That's what they're screaming right now.
There's an anti-Semitic outbreak here. Zionism will not win. A bit frightening to see this. You see films of the Hitler Youth in 1933, you sort of get a feeling you're in the middle of a crowd like that today. It's not very heartening, is it?
Not really. Yeah, unfortunately,
It seems to me that any Jew in this country who has the ability to scram, as we say in the vernacular, ought to take his visa and get to Israel as quickly as possible. There is a very strong feeling that anti-Semitism could rise again in this country.
Well, it's not really rise again.
It's always been there.
It's always been there. Just for it to take a main stage, that's the real worry.
This reminds me of an ambassador I interviewed from Poland who told me that anti-Semitism was indigenous to the society and part of the character of the country. And it seems to me that this is going to be the same for the Russians. Incidentally, my father was an immigrant from Russia. Very few people know that he came out of such types of storming, and he ran away from this. He ran away from the Russian army. A full confession on the Leon Charney report. What are the youth?
Скажите, вы израильский?
You've seen some terrific footage. You've seen some youth in uniforms. To me, it looked a little bit like the Hitler Brigade here. And it looks to me like you could have an uprising in this country of the communism to the point where I don't know if Mr. Yeltsin is so secure. Anyway, this is the feeling we get from this parade at this moment. We can't say that this is really what's happening in the country. Now, if you look down the street here, you'll find some very fancy stores. So you see a tremendous class distinction that's developed in this country. You see a Mercedes-Benz and you've seen a broken down trolley that barely can move. And that's basically what happens. It becomes economics. And at the end of the day, the people must eat and the people must have roofs over their heads. What we did see today was some anti-Semitic remarks, and that was very disconcerting to say the least. It seems like the Jew always becomes the enemy and the focal point of the problem. We're back with our two experts on Russia, studying Russian. She's laughing from Columbus, Ohio, and Cincinnati, Ohio. Excuse me, losing my voice. I'm so overwhelmed by my new analysts. This is Deborah Norville and Connie Chung. They flew over with us on the plane. So what's your analysis of this?
I'm personally surprised by all the communist demonstrations. I wasn't expecting to see all of that. The pioneers, the children carrying the Stalin pictures when they probably have no clue what they're holding or just demonstrating.
All right, and that's very important. What does that tell you?
It tells me that there's a lot of stuff going on here that people really don't know what they're saying or doing. They're just lost and they need to hold on to
some sort of direction. I mean, if you've noticed that most of the people, besides the very young children, were much older because they had a pension, they had a way of life set for them. They knew they were going to be cared for, and now they don't have these things, and things are so uncertain. And most of the people that you see that are devastatingly poor are the older.
Yeah, I can understand for the older people. I mean, they might feel like their whole life was wasted. They dedicated their whole life
I made a comment. I was here 4 years ago during the coup, and I went to Lenin's tomb, and it had been the fall of communism, and I saw people, hundreds and hundreds of people, crying because it's as though they lost their God.
Oh, yeah.
They were just in tremendous turmoil. I predicted this 5 years ago.
I mean, if something had happened, if something would happen to in the States, something similar, and we went to another form of government, people wouldn't know what to do. That's the only thing that you've known. We have very, very few people that knew anything beforehand, and then again.
And it happened so quickly that they couldn't regiment themselves to or any change or acclimate themselves to any change, which is a very big political problem for Mr. Yeltsin. Now, someone told us today that had President Clinton not come here today, most of the world leaders would not have shown up. Did you hear anything like that?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
I just know that he refused to watch the artillery display.
Mike, there we go.
Well,
I know he would only watch the parade of veterans. He refused to watch.
Well, I think the people here are finally they're glad that people are starting to recognize their side of the war. And
did you know
still some
that 30 million Russians were killed during the war?
30, and some
And that's
even
only
say
the
40.
war.
40 million people.
Some even say 40 million. There's one person here that their family hasn't been affected in some way, and they hold some resentment because I think they feel that we didn't come to their aid quick enough.
Well, but a lot of people blame Stalin also.
Yeah, and that's why I don't understand why everybody's walking around with his picture, because
it's lack of
aside from the war, millions and millions were killed for their beliefs and their poetry and their literature and their thoughts.
So when you finish studying, you want to come back here and live?
I don't know about living here. I'd like to teach English here for a while.
I don't know about any for a really long, extended period of time. Probably not. But yes, I would like to come back.
What are you studying?
We're studying Russian language.
What would you like to do professionally?
Professionally, I'd like to teach at a university. I'm not quite sure what as of right now.
I've tried to contact some women organizations here because they're just getting off the ground, and I'd like to see what direction they're going.
What's your daily life like? Is it pleasant?
Yeah, we have
good social life. A lot of Americans.
I think our social life is lacking right now because we're studying a lot.
And
but last summer I was in St. Petersburg and had a lot of fun socially last summer.
Have you been to Kiev?
No.
Have you been to Chechnya?
No.
Not this time.
What's the inside that you feel in Moscow about Chechnya? What's the real story? Should Yeltsin be pursuing this? Should he not be pursuing it? Are we not hearing the right things in America about what's happening? Or most people don't know what's happening?
I don't think people.
I don't think
really
anyone knows what's going on.
What's happening and why.
And are people concerned about it here? It seems to me no one cares.
I think people in the United States care more about it than people here.
I've spoken to someone this morning at our hotel. He said, Chechnya, it doesn't affect me. My family's not involved. It's way far away. I don't care about it. It seems like ABC, CBS, CNN, everybody but us is having a field day selling pictures of Chechnya. And that could be a little bit dangerous too, because we really don't know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're here every day, and you don't know what's happening.
No, right. We can't get information about it.
You think it's censorship?
I don't know. I think it's me having a lack of ability to read the newspapers completely in Russian.
Do you remember the Vietnam War?
I was born.
But you heard about it.
Oh, of course.
Do you know it was a great mistake in the history of the United States?
That's what I was always taught.
It's my understanding that Yeltsin is doing this to hold the Union together, correct? To hold the Russia together.
I don't know Yeltsin personally, but I meet him, I'll ask him.
But I think that's what his goal is to keep the
Is
Union
he popular?
together. And this is not what Abraham Lincoln did.
Yeltsin is not popular.
No, our cooks don't like him.
Cooks don't like him. Will he win an election?
No, I don't think so. With what was like 80%.
Who will though?
I don't know.
You know?
What about
Zhirinovsky running around?
What do you know about this guy?
He plays
crazy.
Yeah.
He wants to.
He plays on people's emotions because right now people can't think straightly about their situation, and what's more powerful and strong for the people is their emotions rather than knowledge.
What do you hear about Gorbachev?
I heard he's living in San Francisco giving lectures. And
that's it.
That's what he's giving.
He's a non-entity right now in Russia. Is that true?
No, I heard from someone else that he was going to come back and run in '96. We'll see.
So will Harold Stassen. He ran about 13 times in America. We don't know. It's possible. Anyway, Gorbachev certainly is a great statesman. He changed the country around. Whether it's for the good or the bad, we don't know yet.
They got rid of him.
All right, ladies.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for coming on CMS and CCN.
Thank you.
We'll be back after commercial break to continue our journey through Moscow. VE Day. We've seen a lot today. Stuff you're not going to see on CBS, CNN, NBC, ABC, any network. We've been here with the people. Unfortunately, some of them are very tough. We'll be back.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high to have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the backdoor channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover The Mystery of the Kaddish. Available now over iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Leon Charney's cantorial CD in Disco Lam. Listen as Charney movingly sings El Moleh Rachamim and Charney's amazing rendition of a disco remix of Adon Olam, all sung in the incredible and individual Charney style. Also listen to the CDs on Rhapsody. Download Leon Charney's cantorial songs in Disco Lam, the disco remix of Adon Olam on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. Or listen in on Rhapsody. All available now.
We're back. We found an author from Russia who's published in America, who's very disturbed about the events that happened today. First of all, give us your name and tell us the name of the book that you published.
My name Edward Radzinski. My book printed in Doubleday. The title of this book, The Last Tsar. It's the story about Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia. The editor of this book was Jacqueline Onassis Kennedy, and I was very happy that the book was bestseller in America for 3.5 months. Today I just finished my book about Stalin. Its book will print in Doubleday this year. And the most terrible which I saw, it was absolutely impossible 5 years ago, because all this demonstration had the only portrait, the portrait of Mr. Stalin.
This demonstration we just filmed now.
Yes, Mr. Stalin today returned. I predicted it in this book. It's the shadow of Mr. Stalin is the most terrible and dangerous shadow which is possible today. And you are able to see this fantastic demonstration, and all parts of this demonstration, they had the only portrait of Mr. Stalin. All newspapers which they sold, they had portrait of Mr. Stalin.
Why do you think this is happening?
You see, it's a great disappointment of many people.
Economic disappointment.
In economic situation, but in the same time, Russia had habit to be Byzantium, to be
Byzantine.
Yes, to be fantastic super state, and we lost this situation. And time to time, Stalin became symbol of empire, great empire, which we lost. And communist and anti-communist time to time decided to return to the sense of empire. The parade, which was in Red Square, it's part of this sense. You saw next parade of communism. It was the same parade. But Stalin today is leader of this.
Did communism return? What do you think?
You see, communism may be. It's you see the title, the name. It's no meaning.
Right.
Nationalism return in Russia. It's the most dangerous.
And very dangerous.
Very
now,
dangerous.
You're a scholar on Joseph Stalin. He was a terrible, vicious murderer. Is that fact?
Yes.
How many people were killed by his hands?
You see, it's we have so many ideas about it, but he killed more people than lived in Holland, in Denmark, in France, both. Maybe we lost in this war 28 millions, and it's official, but near 50 millions it's unofficial.
Because of Stalin?
Because Stalin acted. We lost 7 millions in period of collectivization. We lost the endless people in camps, and their son and their grandson today with his portrait come to Red Square. It's fantastic.
Terrible,
it's terrible.
Huh?
It's real.
Let me run through some names with you and tell me what you think very quickly. Yeltsin, what kind of leader is he?
Yeltsin is the great leader for battle. You see, he is the man of battle.
After you win the battle, he's no good.
But in this peaceful time, he tried to be leader.
All right, Gorbachev.
No, Gorbachev is the man of previous era. Yeltsin is the man really new era, and his situation is fantastic because we are living between two civilizations. Civilization which we lost, who became Atlantis, civilization of Communist Party and Stalin, and new civilization which just come. And for Yeltsin, it's not too smart. He tried to be smart. He is really in terrible situation. He is really need in help.
How dangerous is Zhirinovsky?
I don't think so. It's his clown, really clown.
Who is the real leader? Who would be the nationalist leader against Yeltsin today?
You see, I think it's Russia. It's absolutely unpredictable country. If somebody told me that Yeltsin is able to have speech in American Congress against communism,
you wouldn't believe it.
And if somebody told me that I saw the demonstration with portrait of Stalin, it was absolutely unbelievable 4 years ago when they destroyed our monuments of Lenin and so on. It's unpredictable country.
What's the meaning of President Clinton visiting the country today?
It's good.
Symbolic?
It's symbolic because you see its portrait, it's Pravda in the day after victory. It's a fantastic issue. You see Stalin, Churchill, and Truman. Yes, it's 1945.
So they elevate Stalin to these two leaders, and it's very dangerous.
And
he was a murderer and a tyrant and a killer.
Yeah, unfortunately. But that Clinton decided to do it is good. It's good because these people need to support. They are really in bad situation.
You're aware of the fact that Russia wants to sell some nuclear weapons to Iran?
It's terrible. It's terrible because it's the same situation to sit between two chairs.
So why is Yeltsin doing that? The military pushing?
I thought that today it's a situation when people have no the same politic. You see, every day change and try to change. He decided to show that he was absolutely independent. He's able to sell.
It's a way of him showing independence and making himself more acceptable to the average Russian so he can get reelected.
Yes.
So it's an internal issue.
He tried to show that he is independent from America.
But America is going to be very upset with that. You understand
yes,
that?
I know, and it's real.
Very
and many
dangerous.
people in Russia are very upset because it's really very dangerous. It's a very stupid idea.
All right, we thank you for coming on with one last question. Will I come back here in 3 years? Will Yeltsin still be president?
You see,
No one can tell in Russia, huh?
I told you that it's unpredictable.
All right, the name of your book is
Stalin.
Stalin?
Name of my new book.
By
will be
Doubleday.
Stalin, in Doubleday.
And Jackie Onassis was your editor on your other book.
Was editor of my previous
Did
book.
you meet her?
Yes, and she is great.
Wonderful lady, huh?
She was wonderful lady. She was fantastic lady, and I so like her because for me it's incredible.
Well, when you come to New York, you come on our show and we'll talk about your book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There you have it, a very in-depth interview with a very formidable historian who's written a book with Jackie Kennedy on the Tsarist Russia and has now completed a book on Stalin. And he gave you what I think is really the sentiments of what is happening here today. It's a bit anarchistic. There is no direction, and people want to feel nationalism again. And I think that Gorbachev's détente could have a terrible reverberation in this country. And according to some other people we spoke to today and visualization of the parade, we can see that the young communism is here, and the worshipping of Joseph Stalin, the worst tyrant in the history of humankind, has been reborn. We'll be back after commercial break. You may not find this on the networks, but that's why we came.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high to have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the Backdoor Channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover The Mystery of the Kaddish.
We're back. I'm Leon Charney. Here's a man who was a partisan. He fought during the war. He was in a ghetto, and he succeeded in living. You can see by all his medals that he must have survived by doing lots of odd jobs in the army. But at the end of the day, his children have emigrated to Israel, and he himself will go there. And one cannot blame him after one saw those feelings today that were very blatantly anti-Semitic.
It's the idea to call everybody to have the unification again. It's not the idea to send...
We have a call here to bring back the Soviet Union, so Mr. Gorbachev would be very unhappy with this then, wouldn't he?
Well,
he would be happy.
I'm sure that you know about Mr. Gorbachev better than I do.
Why? You're Russian, I'm only an American.
Yes, but actually he gives more interviews to foreign journalists than to Russian people through Russian mass media.
He doesn't talk to the Russian media?
Not really. Well, first of all, because probably it's not interesting for us, his opinion. And, well, I can say that German people, they wanted him to be back as a president of Russia.
Who wants to be back? The German?
Yeah, German people.
But
when he was in Germany, they said that they would like him to be back as a president
But
of
the
our
Russian
country.
people don't want him back.
Well, I can say that I prefer the United States and German to have a president like him in your countries.
What do you feel about Mr. Yeltsin?
About Mr. Yeltsin? Well, it's a very difficult question. Really. Well, I think that. Well, I prefer to have somebody else as a president of my country.
You think it's symbolic that you have such a big organization and parade or demonstration in front of the old Kremlin? You think people want to go back to the old Kremlin?
No,
I mean the KGB building, excuse me.
Yeah.
You think people want to go back to the old state like it was before?
Well, I mean, you know, there were a lot of bad pages in the history of any country in the world. There were a lot of bad things you'd like to forget in the history of the USA, but nobody destroyed the country because country made some mistakes. What I want to say, do you understand my point?
Yes.
It's like these people, they only remember good things about the Soviet Union.
So in other words, you're saying if some problem were in the United States, we wouldn't destroy the United States and just make California the country. We'd keep the United States.
Exactly.
These people here are rallying to keep the old Soviet Union. They want to keep the whole predecessor of Russia, the CIS. They want to go back to the Union of Soviet republics.
They would like to have the same feeling that they are united with another people. They would like to have a feeling that they are not afraid being on streets after 11 o'clock p.m. They don't want some people to be poor and some people to be rich. I mean, it's like...
There's too much class distinction now. You have a lot of criminality. You have people who made a lot of money, and then there's a lot of people who have made no money, and there are a lot of poor people that have been left. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
it's a class distinction?
It's true. I don't want just to reduce a lot of ideas to one idea. It could be social idea, it could be national idea, it could be economy, it could be politics. It's not so easy. These people, you can see there are like 10 or 15 probably different parties came here. Some of them they are nationalistic parties and the quantity is very small. But in general, communists came here. And what mainly they want just not to have a fighting between republics. They don't want to have blood like we've got now in the whole CIS. As you know, Zhirinovsky, before he was an activist of in other organizations. He was an
so you
activist.
consider him basically a clown that was created by Yeltsin so that the Western democracies would help fund the Soviet, the Russian, the CIS.
It's one of ideas. There are many.
Interesting, very interesting concept.
Well, I mean, he was created by mass media, first of all. And mass media was in hands of not Yeltsin himself, but of party and group of people who supported him, Yeltsin. And I think it was a very good idea because they created like opposition to Yeltsin, and they made people to vote for him. And they said at the end, look, I mean, you voted for just completely stupid guy who is just could be in circus better than in...
So you think it was really, in a sense, a ploy, a very clever ploy by Yeltsin?
Yes, I think so. Well, I mean, again, it's always in the history there are different forces. And
we're in the middle of a major street in Moscow. We come from the United States. We hear a lot about this war in Chechnya. Is it a big thing in Russia today?
Chechnya.
Do people think about it? In the average person walking around here?
I don't think so.
They don't care.
Well, it's very easy. Вы думаете сейчас о войне в Чечне?
А как же, мы об этом
только и думаем. Now on Chechnya, which is very important.
Это наш вселенский позор.
Well.
Нет, они о себе-то думают, ты не волнуйся.
You see, it's quite important
О себе-то не думают. Мы главное, о себе
issue
не
and
думаем.
point for Russian people, for Moscovites. And well, you can hear different opinions. He said that it's very bad for our country, and obviously he blames Yeltsin for this.
Во времена Великой Отечественной войны Грозные отстояли, Грозные спасли. Такого разгрома, такой раздрухи мы даже не могли представить во времена Великой Отечественной войны, который сейчас произошел.
During Second World War, we managed to keep Grozny as not destroyed, because German troops came not far from Grozny. but we managed to defend it, and now we destroyed it ourselves. And this is absolutely terrible, and he's very sorry
How's
for
the
it.
Russian army now? Are people satisfied, the young people, to go, or they don't want to go? Is it something like Vietnam was to the Americans? Do you know what Vietnam was?
Yeah, I understand about Vietnam syndrome, you mean, and
right.
I mean, like people. Well, I mean, I don't know anybody in the world who would like to go to army. But at the same time, I don't probably want to go to army. But if my country needs me to be in the army, I'll be there. And
in your country is the CIS, or you want the Soviet Union?
My country. Well, right now my country is Russia. If it's the Soviet Union, it will be the Soviet Union.
All right, we'll see you. Thank you very much. What's your name?
You're welcome. Valera Belausov.
You've been to the United States?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. The United States? Well, I prefer Russia.
We drink some vodka tonight. We celebrate.
Well, I don't drink vodka. I'll drink Coke.
You see that sign behind me? Basically what it says is get the Jews out of here. We're in the middle of a very sensitive area. We've been here with a Hasidic Jew, and it's a bit frightening to see the response of these people. We hope it's not symptomatic of what's going on in this country. Naturally, you can say, or we can say, we have militias in the United States who've been very destructive. We're sure that there's a lot of anti-Semitism, even in the United States. But obviously, we feel more comfortable with our government. We don't know what's going on here. There seems a bit of anarchy, and it's very troublesome for us to see. It's very mindful of things that we read about and saw pictures of in the early 30s, when it's an economic crisis, blame it on the Jews. Sad day in that respect, very sad. We hope to bring these pictures to the United States so you can make up your own minds and make your own judgments. I can tell you from my own personal feeling that it becomes very, very uncomfortable to be here at this moment, and we're going to cut out.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high to have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the Backdoor Channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover The Mystery of the Kaddish. Available now over iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Leon Charney's cantorial CD in Disco Lam. Listen as Charney movingly sings El Moleh Rachamim and Charney's amazing rendition of a disco remix of Adon Olam, all sung in the incredible and individual Charney style. Also listen to the CDs on Rhapsody. Download Leon Charney's cantorial songs in Disco Lam, the disco remix of Adon Olam on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. Or listen in on Rhapsody. All available now.
It's 3:45 Wednesday afternoon. It's the second day of President Clinton's journey through Moscow and Russia. We have just shown you pictures of everything you can dream of, the VE celebration. Something interesting happening this morning. The President of Israel, Ezer Weitzman, visited the Choral Synagogue and was applauded by about 1,000 to 2,000 people. The streets were mobbed. They were excited. First time in the history of the state of Russia that an Israeli president was visiting. And as you know, relations are now very strong between Russia and Israel. And Weitzman was really excited by the trip to the synagogue, and so were the people, obviously, as you can see by our pictures. The clock behind us is the same, but there is not the same feeling in Russia as there was 5 years ago. It's become quite a capitalistic society. There are very beautiful stores that you've seen pictures of. You've seen a different environment in terms of there's no more communism here. There seems to be a search going on, a spiritual search. Very funny. I think people are longing for Lenin and Stalin. We have shown you pictures of that. We'll go into more depth with our special on what we found concerning the attitude towards the Jews and the resurgence of nationalism, which we found very dangerous in this country. More importantly, for the moment, and not for the long term, is the fact that we didn't hear out of this press conference a commitment from Boris Yeltsin to stop selling nuclear reactors to Iran. And President Bill Clinton, in a very naive way, said, you know, really it's his problem more than it's ours because they're closer to us. I don't buy that. I don't think you do. By the time you see this program, you'll have seen much analysis with respect to those statements. My guess is, my fearless forecast, as usual, is that there is big trouble here. Nothing real was accomplished, and President Yeltsin is having his day, and Bill Clinton is trying to look good to some advisors who told him, don't go, Bill, stay home or go through London. We'll see if we're right. We'll know in about 2 weeks when you see the show. We won't erase the tape. We'll let you guess if I'm correct. You're watching a motorcade of the greatest security problem ever facing Moscow. 50 heads of state who are in the country today. I spoke with a spokeswoman for the White House who said no country in the world has ever had to take care of 50 heads of state in one day, and that is what is happening in Moscow today. The most that this woman knew of was 34 in Miami Beach, Florida, which might be a little bit easier than here. In any case, you saw the various flags and various limousines that flew by here. They've just opened up a new museum and a new a memorial for the Russian public to see, and you see pictures of the Russian public anxious to see it. Not very important in terms of the monument itself. We've seen dozens of them, and you have maybe hundreds. What is important is that 50 heads of state have joined together in Moscow today to celebrate VE Day. The rumor was that had Clinton not come, that all these 50 people would not have shown up. The heads of states were, so to speak, dependent upon Clinton's visit. And that's one rationalization for why President Clinton did come, despite the fact that the Republicans are ruminating and screaming about it. Clinton came and 50 heads of state came along. At least it helped the foreign currency. We don't know what else it did. We don't know what these heads of state were talking about, except they had a great dinner and they came to honor the struggle that took place during World War II. In any case, enjoy this view from the top and from the bottom, and take a look at the public. They've come from all over the Soviet Union, ex-Soviet Union, Russia, to view these people, these flags, and these heads of state.